Peter Blexley's here with me. Peter, we'll move on from that. Let's talk about Keir Starmer's proper sort of political launch yesterday, relaunch. He was attempting to say that he's going to fix the NHS. Apparently, he's going to do away with a load of needless appointments in order to create some more needless appointments. But on the front page of the Daily Telegraph today, we've got obese patients and smokers being sent to the back of the queue because under government plans, if you want to give up smoking, or if you want an operation because of some kind of smoking problem that you've got, you're going to be urged to quit smoking first before they give you the operation. And if you're a bit too fat, they won't give you any knee surgery or hip surgery until you've lost some weight.
Well, if there's any overweight smokers listening or watching this morning, I'll meet you at the back of the queue. Cause
that's where you're going to be.
Because that's where I'll be.
Meanwhile, yesterday, now, I apologise in advance for this, it's a bit unkind, but there was a load of nurses and doctors surrounding Keir Starmer when he made this announcement yesterday. One of them, unfortunately, didn't seem to be quite sure that she was on film, because here's what she's ended up doing during the entire scenario. You might not be able to hear this if you're listening on the radio, but basically this is a woman who's standing behind Starmer, decides that she might decide to sort of rub her nose there with a tissue, but she's not quite sure whether she's got the bogey out, so she's sticking it up there. She then takes the tissue, rubs it a bit more. She then realises that Starmer's talking, so she'll stick her thumb up there, see if she can get anything out. No, still hasn't got it. Wipe it away. No, she's put it in her mouth. Oh, my God. Goodness me. It's not a great look, that, is it? I mean, if you're standing behind the Prime Minister's shoulder, I would advise you not to pick your nose.
There's a time and a place for picking your nose.
There is.
In fact, I think I did
Best
that.
if you do it on your own.
Exactly.
Not on a public transportation device.
In your bathroom, preferably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a tissue and a bin or the loo to hand to dispose of said piece of tissue.
Yes.
Now, back in the day, whenever I used to see people picking their nose, say, for example, in our CID office, right, something which I found particularly antisocial,
it is.
I would say, pick us a winner, mate.
Yes.
Or something like that.
And that would hopefully shame them into not doing it.
Yes.
Of course, now if you did that, that would be called some kind of microaggression. You'd probably be facing an HR inquiry as to what you meant by that.
Final written warning or the sack, what do you reckon?
Definitely, absolutely right. Speaking of which, let's look at the train drivers this morning, because on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, they've got a great story. Avanti West Coast, you might remember, are the company that don't really run trains very often. They're more often on strike than they are actually working. They were on strike on New Year's Eve, and they were on strike on January the 2nd, and of course most of them don't work on January the 1st, so there was a 3-day jolly for these guys, right?
Yeah.
Apparently trains were cancelled, however, on Sunday morning, which would have been what, I suppose, what date was that? Would that have been the 5th?
Oh, the 5th,
It didn't run for several hours on Sunday morning. And this was the first Sunday, by the way, of the year where they're not on strike, because every other Sunday from now on until May, they are on strike.
Yeah.
Apparently, Avanti West Coast services between Liverpool and London did not run for several hours because members of the ASLEF trade union refused to walk to the train. And why? Because there was a bit of snow on the ground.
2 inches.
Yeah.
2 whole inches
Unbelievable.
of snow. And nobody had cleared a path for these very well-paid train drivers. Now, I would imagine if you drive a train, you wear some fairly sturdy, sensible footwear.
Sensible footwear, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine.
You're not wearing stilettos, are you?
I don't think so.
Unless you're particularly into that sort of thing. I don't know what ASLEF train drivers are like.
I can't help but think train drivers probably don't wear stilettos. As they're steering hundreds of tons of steel, and hundreds.
And
of
they're always telling me on Twitter how hard the job is, by the way, to drive a train. They say it's almost as hard as being, brain surgeon, by the sounds of that. What they tell me.
Yeah. So there you go. So bearing in mind that I would imagine sensible footwear is a prerequisite of driving a train, you might imagine that such sensible footwear would be able to negotiate 2 inches of snow.
Yes.
But
according to health and safety representatives from ASLEF, they said to drivers that they shouldn't turn up at the railway depot until the snow was cleared because the site was unsafe to walk around.
Oh, we don't drive trains. I'm part of the union. We don't drive trains. I'm part of the union.
This is what the statement actually said. Edge Hill Depot was not gritted last night. All walkways covered in snow or ice, and therefore no trains are able to leave as there's no safe walking routes for drivers. An ASLEF spokesman said the walkways were covered in snow and ice, making them unusable. Once they had been cleared, the drivers could access their trains and did so. This is basic safety stuff. I mean, what would be wrong, for example, with somebody from Aslef going to the local co-op where there was also no walkway cleared for them, where they could buy a couple of packets of Marlboros, some salt, which they could chuck down ahead of them, spraying it as they walk so that the ice would melt in front of their very eyes, and then they could get on the train.
You see, this is the home of common sense.
Yeah.
Which is why that kind of thinking will never catch on with trade unions such as Aslef.
Yeah. Do you think they managed to drive to the place where they were supposed to walk then from?
Now, you see, Edgehill is in Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see? Right, a proud city.
Very proud.
With a great history of
striking.
Trade, docks, the dockers.
Yeah.
Remember those dockers?
Yeah.
Turning out in all conditions to unload the ships, to feed the nation,
Yes.
to play such a rich part in Liverpool's heritage.
Yeah.
I wonder what those dockside workers of yesteryear would think about train drivers who can't walk across 2 inches of snow.
Do you think it's anything to do with the fact that it was a Sunday?
I wonder.
Yeah. They don't like working Sundays because it's their day off, you see, so they only get £600 extra for driving on a Sunday, and apparently it's not enough.
600 quid for a day's work.
Yeah. It's not enough.
No.
You're right. I mean, especially if you're going to run the risk of slipping on the ice.
I think I've been in the wrong jobs all my life.
Yeah, I think so. Me too. Unbelievable. Absolutely incredible.